Did I hit the blade? Okay, and then what? I want to be on the slide. No back.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Franklin Roosevelt's declaration of war against Japan is one of the most well-known speeches ever delivered in American history. It was powerful and moved Americans to join the fight against the Japanese. Just 10 hours after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Japanese bombers and troop transports arrived just north and south of Manila, the Philippine capital. American and Filipino forces fought bravely, but were plagued by disease and fatigue. On April 9, 1942, General Edward P. King, commander of Allied forces in the Philippines, surrendered to the Japanese. These prisoners would be forced to march across the peninsula to designated POW camps. 2 and 7 of them would die during the journey, which would later be known as the Bataan Death March.
I said to the people of the Philippines whence I came, I shall return. Tonight, I repeat those words. I shall return.
When the Philippines fell to the Japanese in World War II, these were the men who refused to take occupation lying down.
Well, I did not like to surrender. I wanted to continue the fight.
That we were trained to fight as soldiers.
Young and hungry for action, they had everything to gain and little left to lose.
You're determined to win or die. You win or you die.
With a daring prison break and one of the most important intelligence coups of World War II, they helped General MacArthur keep his famous promise. They were the forgotten heroes of the Philippine resistance.
As the 1st Cavalry and the rest of the U.S. Army advanced in Luzon, they met a strong pro-U.S. guerrilla movement. These helped the liberation of prisoners, they provided local guides, and they made sure that the Japanese had less intelligence and were limited in their movements.
The 1st Cavalry follows the assault troops through the villages of Luzon. Wherever there's a space on a wall, soldiers leave their mark. That way, incoming troops know their fellow soldiers have cleaned out the village.
Japanese soldiers went overseas not expecting to return alive. Normally they left cuttings of their hair or fingernails to memorialize themselves after their death. The martial Japanese song, Umi Yukaba, has the line, "I shall die only for the emperor, I shall never look back." While they knew the Americans were coming, they also knew that it was their duty to stand and fight against the Americans. The idea was, as long as the Japanese continued to fight on Luzon, they'd drain resources from the Americans that otherwise could be used in an invasion.
the Japanese or our enemies were armed to the teeth, but we were only armed with our teeth.
Guerrillas can be of great value. They can give you complete insight on what's happening by the enemy.
What do you mean by guerrilla? It is an organization which do not like to surrender to the Japanese.
I don't think the guerrillas could have lasted without the civilians for support.
What can we do? We have no arms.
Yes, we got the Springfields and mainly in fields. We got it from the armories of the schools.
Something had created in my heart to fight the enemy.
I'm a guerrilla. Yes, I'm a guerrilla.
The amazing thing was that the Filipinos, they didn't turn us in. That's the part that I can't get over.
I was already 17. My brother said, you better organize WAS. And it was Women Auxiliary Service.
The guerrillas were about as compatible with each other as a bunch of snakes.
My mother just gave me a rosary and said, try to be careful.
On the night of the 9th, they told us that the surrender would be on the next morning, and we did not surrender. We went into the mountains and we started forming and organizing guerrilla warfare.
The guerrillas will get angry. We are already listed there. We cannot say we will not continue, we will not proceed.
Hindi sumalog dagidi kapon.
Another thing that helped me get over the bitterness and the defeatism, I guess you'd call it, was the loyalty and the spirit of the Filipinos. They wanted to fight those damn Japs, and they weren't about to give up their country.
If you have not undergone any difficulties, you don't know how to look forward.
I noticed Filipinos, when their back is on the wall, that's the time when they work like hell. Those were the days.
No, sir, I did not surrender.
Filipinos after World War II wanted to forget all the horrific things they did, and actually my dad was quite ashamed of what he did in World War II, because a life is precious, and when you take lives, even though it's under orders by military, it still doesn't settle with your heart. In the aftermath of World War II, there was no World War II syndrome where it was considered a disease and could be taken care of. So there were nights of screaming and hollering and talking loud, and I didn't know that till after the Vietnam syndrome, that my dad was going through all these horrific dreams, and he blames himself for the things that he did in the war. At times when I would visit him at night, and or I would visit him and it got to be nighttime, and he says, Michael, he says, stay until I fall asleep. And I said, well, why, Dad? Because they're going to come visit me. I said, well, who's going to come visit you? And he says, sometimes there's 8, sometimes there's 10, and they all stand around my bed and they ask me to come with them. And I think these were the demons that represent everything that he had built up into his mind of all the horrific things that took place in World War II. So in the house, there was no guns, there was no bolo knives, there was nothing that would indicate that you were an aggressive type of warrior or anything that would reflect. He wanted to forget all that and just raise his family with the so-called white picket fence in the house, and raise the family, and the family prospers.